2025 and the 25th day of 2025. Well, who am I? Where is my photo? Okay, it's gone. Anyways, who am I? I am a developer advocate in InfraCloud. I recently started my cloud native journey to say like 3 or 4 months ago, almost in October time. And since then, I have been basically coding, testing the code, and then writing about the code. And this is my first ever talk. And I am also an ex-Toastmaster. Those who don't know, Toastmaster is a community which helps us in bringing our communication and public speaking and leadership skills. So yeah, I was an ex-Toastmaster. Yeah, these are my socials. Well, great. Yeah, getting started with the cloud native and CNCF. Now, today's talk is majorly about how did I get started on it and what are the things that I learned on my way and what are the things that you can utilize, some resources that I have mentioned at the end of the slide that can help you out with. So this is the quick agenda of the talk today. First, we'll be talking about what is cloud, then what is cloud native. Then we'll be going through the cloud native architecture and the growth as of today. And then we'll introduce CNCF, landscapes, maturity levels, and how to get started in the CNCF or contributing to the CNCF projects. Then we'll have additional resources on where to get started from. So what is cloud? The first image is essentially my first interpretation when I heard the term cloud in 2013-14, I guess. So when someone said that, no, my all photos are uploaded on cloud, I actually thought that there is a cloud that exists in the sky and there all the photos are being uploaded. And then someone told, no, there are machines on the cloud. And then I thought, okay, there is machines that actually set up on the cloud. So this was my very first interpretation of the cloud. Then someone told me that this is very similar to what we have in our homes or in our offices or workplaces or anywhere, that there is a setup of servers and then the same thing is cloud. Then I had a question, what is the whole difference? Like, why do we introduce cloud here? So yeah, to define that, let's go through what is cloud first and then what is cloud computing. Then we'll go to what is cloud native. So cloud is essentially a network of servers that is hosted on the internet that is available for, storing, managing your data and processing it if required somewhere. And these, these data centers are located all over the world. And some of the examples will be Google Drive or Google Photos where you dump your data. Now, what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is essentially using this infrastructure to manage your computing services over the internet. Now, Netflix, Google Docs, in Google Docs, you keep editing, you keep doing changes. These kinds of things come under the cloud computing part. Well, what is cloud native? If we go by the definition approach, cloud native basically refers to an approach of designing, building, and running applications that are created to take advantage of flexibility, scalability, and resilience offered by cloud platforms, adhering to the architecture and everything. To understand this in very simple terms, I would like to explain you the first picture. Now, how many of you are native of Hyderabad? Show of hands. Well, when you say native of Hyderabad, what do you define? Born and brought up here, yes. And like, what is it that is culturally invested inside you? Biryani, chai, Osmania biscuits, everything. So when I say cloud native, so when you say Hyderabadi native, what happens is you are born and brought up in this city and you are embedded with this culture of having biryani, having Nilofer chai, having Osmania biscuit, Charminar, Begum Bazaar, everything. Now when it comes to cloud native, a very similar structure happens that there are few things that the cloud native applications must adhere to. So first thing is microservices, then there is containers, then there is DevOps, and then there is continuous delivery, CI/CD. So what happens is when you build an application that combines all these things, then it is termed as cloud native. Yeah, we'll deep dive into each of these now. So what is microservices? Basically, microservices is dividing your entire big application into small boxes and writing each code, like as in writing code for each box and then deploying it. Now, what do I mean by box here? For example, you're building an Amazon website or, you're building some e-commerce website. Let's just take very basic thing, users, and we have payments, and then we have products. So you will write the user directory code separately, you'll write the payment code separately, and these are all separate containers. And once this is done, So once you write this code in the small individual containers, everything is very easy to handle. And how do these things communicate with each other? That is via the HTTP APIs that goes in. Now that your containers are created, or sorry to say, basically your each microservice is created, then this is containerized. Now, what do I mean by containerizing it? To understand it in a very basic, simple term, container is basically zipping up the whole thing and putting it, okay? Now, explaining it by definition, it is a lightweight portable component that package an app with everything that needs it. Everything as in the dependencies that come along and other things that might require to run the application over any platform given. So that is, you create a box, then you containerize the box, then you use something called orchestrator. Orchestrator is basically you have multiple containers, multiple microservices, and you want all of these to be managed over across the things. Like, for example, you can take about databases, or you can take about any resources that you are using in your systems. So all these things should be managed by something. So that is called an orchestrator. And in today's world, Kubernetes is the one that orchestrates almost all of the things. Yeah. Then there is a third part, that is DevOps. Now that we introduce these two things of there is creating of containers and then there is orchestration, there should be a collaboration between the developers and the IT operations team in order to, manage this process, and in order to speed up with the delivery and making it reliably available for the people. So DevOps is like a culture that needs to be embedded when you're developing a cloud native application. Then comes CI/CD. So what is CI/CD? CI/CD is basically continuous integration and continuous delivery. What happens is, for example, you write a code and there is one part of the code that goes down. You figure out what is the container in which that code goes down, and then you go to that container, you make changes, and then that is deployed. So continuous integration means you just check what is going on wrong, and then that part you'll update and you will immediately deliver. What this helps in is basically keeping you updated with all the features that comes in with the client's requirements or any requirement that comes in. So you do the continuous testing and then release, deploy, operate, monitor, plan, code, build. So this is an infinite loop goes. So you code it, then you build it, then you continuously test it, release, deploy, and then operate if you find anything in operation or monitoring. Again plan it and again code and rebuild. So this keeps the loop going on, and it's very risk-free and giving faster deliveries. Yeah. So now, how does this actually help with the traditional approach that we have? So when I say how does this help with the traditional approach, the first thing is, if you go for the architecture, most of the apps that were built long back were monolithic applications. Now, what I mean by monolithic application is you have an application and then there is one binary created of that application, and that is used everywhere. So for example, if there is a minor part change in the code or minor change in the code, then you have to actually build the whole application again and then go deploy it. That comes as a traditional approach architecture. But how does Cloud Native solve it? You divide that thing into multiple services, and whatever service goes down or whatever service has the default, whatever service has the default, that is updated and then sent around. Then we have scalability. Scalability is limited in traditional approach because of the hardware restrictions that come in, and also because of things like upfront cost, like whenever you want to train models, then you have to increase your hardware, so that will again put you more costs on that. But whereas in cloud native on demand, so scalability and cost model go hand in hand, because when you say scalability in cloud native, so on demand you can use or increase the number of resources that you need, and you can pay as much as you are using. You're not supposed to pay so much and then half of your hardware is not even utilized. So it's not that way in cloud native. Then traditional approaches are very rigid and cloud native are very adaptive. Cloud native is easy to adapt because you can add any new feature or any new technology that comes in very easily because the structure is very open. Then we have fault tolerance. Most of the cloud native is automated resilience. So what happens is when there is an issue that comes up, there is always automated, backups that takes place or automated checking that takes place, and then it keeps on giving, it keeps on pushing it to the CI/CD, and then it comes back. Then there is deployment speed. Obviously, when you use a container and you use a orchestrator on top of it, then it again goes rapid deployments. And then we have maintenance. So everything is provider managed. So if you are using any providers, then most of the things are provider managed. Yeah. Now, let's discuss what are the current trends in the developments, trends and developments in the cloud native. So, so far we have seen what is cloud, what is computing, then what is cloud native and its architecture. Let's deep down into what are the current trends. So, serverless computing. What is serverless computing? Basically, this says going beyond the containers to abstract the infrastructure further. So what this helps in is, now developers are writing and developers are writing the code, and then there is someone who is handling the whole infrastructure. But then this says that the cloud provider itself will handle the infrastructure, and this is like estimated around 2030-31 that it will be implemented and done. And a lot of people are actually started doing that. Then there is edge computing, which basically says bringing workloads closer to users. What does this mean? We see EV vehicles and AI intelligent cars, which is essentially you process the data on time and then give it back. Then we have AI ML in cloud native, using of artificial intelligence in your cloud native applications on how they can help and how that can be amplified. Then there is security first architecture. So security first architecture is basically emphasizing on zero trust, which is basically you have to go, each step is taken note of what is happening and what is not. And security first architecture says that basically zero trust says that you cannot trust anything that just comes in as a verified. You have to check at every stage and then go back and report it like on and off. Same goes with SBOMs and runtime security. Yeah. Now we'll go to the second part of the section, that is what is CNCF. As Atul explained, it's a non-profit organization that funds for open source software, and mostly it helps and promotes in adoption of cloud native computing, and it also supports various cloud related projects. And this basically was started because they wanted to introduce Kubernetes. This was started by Linux Foundation and Google long back, and everything that's there right now in CNCF is under the Linux Foundation. Yeah. Then what is CNCF landscape? Well, CNCF landscape is a page where it declares all the projects that are under CNCF right now, and then what are the different stages, categories, category wise these projects are marked. Yeah, deep diving. Again, CNCF has 6 categories: provisioning, runtime, orchestration management, then we have app delivery, then we have observability, then the last one is platform. What does provisioning mean? So basically provisioning, under provisioning comes the set of tools that are used for setting up the infrastructure. So you want to declare it using Terraform for AWS or any sort of such. So provisioning gives a set of tools for that. Then comes the runtime. Runtime is essentially the tools that run and manage the workloads. So for example, we have Canister, Containerd, these things work as runtime. Then there is orchestration and management. So once you have set up your infrastructure, then you have set up your environment, the third things comes in is managing all the containers that you build upon. So this is tools that deploy, scale and manage cloud native applications. And there is app definition and development. So tools that are used for building and defining and managing the applications in the landscape. Argo is one of the famous one, which is a graduated projects. We'll talk about what is graduated. Then there is for observability and analysis. So basically, these are the solutions for monitoring, logging, and analyzing the performance on how is your app performing and what are the things like getting logs and things like that. Then the last thing is platform. Platform is essentially offering all these tools in one click, one go. So basically, you don't have to choose, am I supposed to take Argo, am I supposed to take Fluentd? So AWS and Gartner, Rancher, all these things gives you all these offerings bundled up in one single thing. Yeah, the next thing we talk about is project maturity levels in CNCF. So what are project maturity levels? For example, you have an open source software that is cloud native. Sorry, you have a software that is cloud native and you want to put it on CNCF. What happens is when you raise a GitHub pull request and then you submit your proposal that I want to put the part, they will check that what is the stage your project is in right now. So what is the sandbox stage? Sandbox stage in the project maturity is basically the most earlier stage of any project that goes in. So it is basically in the experimental phase, proof of concept stage, or to say something like being developed stage, to understand what more can be improved in a given project, and continuously getting the community feedback. And it may lack deep documentation sometimes, or widespread adoption, or it's not even in production use cases sometimes, but these projects are labeled under sandbox. So once it goes to the incubating phase. Incubating phase is essentially where your project is being used by at least 3 production companies, 3 companies in production, and then you have a setup, model, or you have a setup idea on how to improve this thing, or what is the roadmap defined for it further, and you have a proper documentation setup, at least on how to get started with the project and things like that. Then there is then there is graduated projects. Graduated projects are basically widely adopted projects that are highly stable, and they're also production ready. They have good documentation set up, and then they are very scalable. And these successfully pass all the tests conducted by CNCF TOC review committee, so technical oversight committee. These guys put through some set of tests that your project has to pass in, as in documentation, or security, or any other aspect that comes in, and then those come under graduated projects. Then we have so yeah, this is basically the metrics. So in CNCF landscape, as of now, we have 30 graduated projects, 37 incubating, and 128 sandbox projects. Yeah. Now, the question comes in on why should you contribute to CNCF, or why should you be the one, giving to the community? So there are multiple options that come in. Either you do it for your growth, you do it for the learning, opportunity, community collaboration, networking, skills, ecosystem, or anything that comes in, or even to put up a good resume. So these are some of the factors that why you should contribute. Now we'll define on how you get started with it. So the basic thing that you require to get started on with any CNCF project is learning Git. Version control is the most essential part of any, any project, not just CNCF, but as an engineer, if you're working in an organization, you should know Git. So learn Git, then pick up a language. It can be Go, Rust, or C++, or any language that will suit you. Or if you have already a project of CNCF in your mind, and then check out that language and then start probably learning that. Then we have to understand basic cloud native concepts. What is Kubernetes, what is container orchestration, things like that. Then have basic knowledge of how to do open source contribution, like PR requests, community, Slack channels, and everything. Like, get these things prerequisites done. Then how do you get started? The first thing is, when we define this why here, you should choose what is exactly your interest. So when you get started on a project, it shouldn't be like, okay, someone is working on AI, so let me go work on AI. That's not how things will work for you. You should define on what is your interest. If you are interested in platforms, if you're interested in AI, or if you're interested in app development, you should define your interest, and then proceed with the next steps. Defining your interest comes in what is your skills that lie in, what are the skills that you want to improve, or if you want to completely pick up something new, then define first what is it that you want to do new, and then understand where does your interest go with that thing. Then select a project. So you can go to the landscape.cncf.io. I have given that in resources, but yeah, you go to that and then go through the list of projects. So when you go to landscape, there is cards for each of the projects that is set up. So you go through each card and then you try to understand how the project has been performing. Like, when did it start? When did it go to, when did the sandbox stage start? When did it go to incubating? Things like that. And then you see what is the active participation over the project, things like that. Then you select a project and then explore its GitHub repository. And there might be videos also in some cases, like YouTube videos people will make. Explore that, understand what is the project completely, what it has been done so far, and what is that can be improved in your opinion. So keep that thing ready. Then join Slack channel of CNCF, and every project has its own group or has its own channel over there. So join that and participate in meetings. First, try to interact with the community that's already on board with the project. Then you start contributing. When I say start contributing, don't just go and write a big piece of code and then merge it. What I would suggest is, when you start contributing slowly, started with very basic thing, like you can even start with writing 2-3 lines of documentation, not exactly 2-3 lines, but then a 2-3 pages of documentation or things like that. Start contribution on small scale, and then eventually gradually grow up in the project. So this is getting started. Yeah, these are the links for the resources. You can take a picture or scan or anything works. So this is the CNCF flag. Once you get into the website, you will be prompted for email, and then there is verification process, and that goes on. That's for the landscape.cncf.io, and those are the links. So that links is essentially additional resources on where I started the whole cloud computing, as in few YouTube channels and few courses that you can take up. Yeah, now who am I? Again, one thing that has added is CNCF Hyderabad speaker. So yeah, thank you.